Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life that shake us, not because we are weak, but because we trusted. Moments that tear through the soul, not loudly, but in silence. Pain that doesn't announce itself. It just settles in, quietly, deeply. But today, I am not here to talk about the pain. I am here to talk about the power that comes after it. Because when someone tries to hurt you, tries to diminish the light in you, the most powerful thing you can do is not break, but bloom. Not collapse, but rise. Not retaliate, but transform. When someone wounds your heart, don't try to explain. Don't try to prove your worth. Don't seek closure where there is only chaos. Instead, confuse them. Responding with silence instead of reaction is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect and strength a person can choose. Silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom. It is the calm between storms, the stillness that speaks louder than any scream ever could. When someone hurts you, especially someone you trusted deeply, the first instinct is often to react, to question, to defend, to cry out in pain. But what if instead you choose silence, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of strength, the silence that says, "I will not allow your chaos to invade my peace." You see, reacting is easy. Reacting is natural. It's the unfiltered response of the heart before the soul has had time to speak. But silence, true, conscious silence, is a decision. It is an active choice to hold your power rather than hand it over to the person who tried to wound you. Silence does not mean that you are unaffected. It means that you refuse to be controlled by what has happened to you. When someone expects you to break, silence becomes a form of resistance. It becomes a language of its own, a language that confuses, disarms, and ultimately empowers. People expect noise from pain. They expect drama, confrontation, and proof of your suffering. But when you offer them stillness instead, you reclaim the narrative. You say, "I will not perform my pain for your understanding. I will process it on my own terms." Silence gives you time. Time to breathe, time to feel without judgment, time to remember who you were before the hurt. In silence, you begin to rebuild, not for anyone else's approval, but for your own sense of wholeness. It is in silence that your soul speaks most clearly. It tells you where the wound is and how to gently hold it. It shows you what to let go of and what to keep. And most of all, it reminds you that you do not owe your response to the one who caused the pain. There is a kind of elegance in silence, a dignity that cannot be taken away. It's the elegance of not reducing yourself to arguments, of not explaining yourself to someone who never tried to understand you in the first place. It is in silence that you learn how to protect your energy, how to preserve your inner light, and how to walk away with grace instead of bitterness. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about choosing silence is that it doesn't mean you are doing nothing. Quite the opposite. Silence is where the real work happens. It's where healing begins. It's where reflection takes place. It's where you begin to see everything more clearly, not just what happened, but why it affected you the way it did. In silence, you can sort through the noise of your emotions and come back to your center. The world may not understand your silence. They may interpret it as weakness, as indifference, as avoidance. But that is because they do not know the courage it takes to be still when everything inside you wants to react. They do not understand the bravery it takes to hold your tongue, not out of fear, but out of self-control. They don't know what it means to carry pain like a secret seed, planting it quietly beneath the surface until one day it blooms into something beautiful. Silence is a boundary. It says, "This is as far as you can come. Beyond this line, it is only me, and I will not allow your voice to echo in my mind any longer." It's the way you begin to unhook yourself from someone else's influence. It's how you tell your nervous system that you are safe, even when your heart feels like it's breaking. When you respond with silence, you confuse the one who tried to hurt you, not because you're playing a game, but because you're rising above it. You are no longer feeding the cycle. You're choosing elevation over reaction. You are saying more by saying nothing. And in that space of nothing, you are reclaiming everything. Rising gracefully instead of seeking revenge is one of the rarest and most powerful things a person can do after experiencing hurt. It is the kind of strength that doesn't demand attention but quietly transforms everything it touches. When someone tries to bring you down, the most instinctive response is to fight back, to show them your pain, to make them feel a fraction of what you felt. But there is something far more disruptive, far more confusing, and far more empowering than revenge: rising. To rise is not to ignore what happened. It is not to pretend that the pain didn't cut deep. It is to acknowledge every part of it, every betrayal, every tear, every ache in your soul, and still choose not to let it make you small. To rise is to let your scars be seen without allowing them to define you. It is to refuse to let someone else's actions determine the direction of your life. Revenge may feel satisfying in the moment, but it never really heals. It traps you in the same story, replaying the hurt over and over in your mind. It keeps you tied to the very person who tried to break you, giving them space in your thoughts, your emotions, your energy. Grace, on the other hand, frees you. It releases you from the grip of bitterness. It gives you back to yourself. Rising gracefully means taking your pain and using it as a stepping stone instead of a weight. It means choosing growth over retaliation, healing over hatred. It means walking away not because you are weak, but because you are wise enough to know that your peace is too precious to be thrown into the fire of someone else's chaos. Grace is not passivity, it is not weakness. It is the quiet power of a person who knows they have nothing to prove. It is the confidence to leave things unsaid, to let actions speak, to let time reveal the truth. Grace doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers strength when your voice trembles. It whispers self-respect when you're tempted to beg for answers. It whispers dignity when revenge tries to seduce you with the illusion of justice. When you rise with grace, you stop being a character in someone else's story. You become the author of your own. You stop waiting for closure from the one who caused the pain. You realize that closure isn't something you get from another person. It's something you give to yourself. You write your own ending, and in that ending you are whole, not because they fixed what they broke, but because you chose to heal anyway. Rising gracefully is the decision to be better, not bitter. It's deciding that no one has the power to turn your heart cold, that no one can touch your essence no matter what they do on the outside. You protect your softness, not because you are naive, but because you understand that your softness is sacred. You understand that becoming hard and bitter would only complete the damage someone else tried to start. It's not always easy to rise. Some days it will feel like you're crawling through your own brokenness. Some days the idea of grace will feel impossible. But every time you choose to get up and continue, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, you are rising, you are choosing yourself, you are proving that pain may visit, but it will not stay. It will not define, it will not win. There is beauty in that kind of strength. The beauty of someone who could have destroyed but chose to rebuild, who could have hurt back but chose to heal forward, who took the fire meant to burn her down and used it to light the path ahead. When you rise gracefully, you become untouchable, not because you are perfect, but because you are whole. Wholeness does not mean the absence of wound. It means you have felt deeply and still found the courage to stand tall. You don't need to tell your side of the story. You don't need to prove your worth. Your rising is the proof. Your peace is the answer. Your life, calm, steady, undisturbed, is the loudest statement you will ever make. Let healing be your loudest answer, not words, not explanations, not justifications. Healing, because when someone causes you pain, what they often expect is noise. They expect breakdowns, angry messages, public outbursts, or desperate pleas for closure. What they don't expect is silence followed by a soft and steady transformation. A transformation that doesn't ask for validation, but happens in quiet corners of your life, where the world isn't looking, where the wounds are real and the growth is slow but certain. Healing is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It begins in the moments when you choose not to revisit the pain for the 100th time. when you choose to take a step forward instead of standing in place trying to understand why it happened. Healing is a series of small, invisible choices. Choosing to eat when you've lost your appetite, choosing to get out of bed when your heart feels heavy, choosing to smile even when it's only a flicker of light in the dark. There is a kind of power in healing that no other form of response can match, because healing says, "You hurt me, but you did not destroy me." It says, "You were a chapter, not the whole story." It says, "You do not get to own my future just because you wounded my past." Healing doesn't scream for attention. It whispers your strength back into you. It returns your voice, your peace, your clarity. It helps you remember who you were before the pain and introduces you to who you are becoming now. People often look for closure in words, in actions, in apologies that may never come. But real closure is not given, it is chosen. It happens the day you decide to stop revisiting the moment of impact and start building something new with the pieces. It happens when you say to yourself, "I may never get the answers, but I can still choose peace." That choice is healing. That choice is freedom. Let your healing be visible in the way you carry yourself, in the way you no longer speak from the wound, but from the wisdom it gave you. Let it show in your ability to love again, not blindly, but bravely. Let it show in your refusal to let pain harden your heart. Let it show in your kindness, in your softness, in the way you continue to believe in goodness even after seeing the worst. Healing is not forgetting. It is not pretending. It is not rushing through the grief just to look okay. Healing honors the wound. It acknowledges the depth of it, the truth of it, and then gently reminds you that you are more than what was done to you. It doesn't erase the experience. It integrates it. It takes what was meant to break you and turns it into something that builds you. You don't need to announce that you're healing. You don't need to prove it to anyone. You don't need to post it or perform it. The real proof of healing is in how you protect your peace, in how you set your boundaries, in how you choose yourself even when it's hard. It's in how you refuse to let your past write your future. It's in the moments when you could have let bitterness win but chose grace instead. There will be days when the pain echoes louder than your progress. That doesn't mean you're not healing. Healing is not linear. It doesn't happen in a straight line. It comes in waves, some soft, some crashing. What matters is that you keep showing up for yourself again and again, even when it feels like you're starting over. Because each time you choose to show up, each time you take a deep breath and keep going, you're rewriting the story. Let your healing be the quiet revolution. Let it be the way you change the narrative, not with revenge, but with growth. Let it be seen in the way you protect your heart, not with walls, but with wisdom. Let it be seen in the way you no longer seek to prove your worth because you finally remember that it was never lost. Healing doesn't demand recognition. It creates transformation, and that transformation will speak louder than any response you could ever give. Wear your scars as strength, not shame. There is something profoundly human about being wounded and still choosing to stand tall. Scars are the evidence that you survived what was meant to destroy you. They are not signs of weakness, but symbols of healing, of courage, of endurance. When life or people leave their marks on your soul, it's easy to want to hide those parts of yourself, to cover up the cracks, to pretend they never happened, to present only what's polished and untouched. But the truth is, the most powerful beauty often rises from brokenness. Scars don't ask for pity. They don't need an explanation. They are the silent testimony that you have felt deeply, lived honestly, and kept going. And yet, so often, we treat them like secrets. We are taught to hide the evidence of our pain, to be ashamed of the parts of us that don't look perfect anymore. But perfection has never inspired anyone. What moves people, what truly resonates, is authenticity. It's in the woman who says, "Yes, I've been through darkness, but I still choose to be light." It's in the soul who says, "Yes, I was shattered, but look how I rebuilt." There is great power in owning your story, all of it, even the parts you wish you could rewrite. When you wear your scars with strength, you are no longer defined by the pain, but by your response to it. You are no longer controlled by what happened. You are led by who you've become. Scars don't make you damaged. They make you layered, textured, complex. They are not signs of failure, but proof of survival. They mean you've been tested by life, and you've emerged with deeper wisdom and greater empathy. Some will look at your scars and only see the pain, but others, the ones who matter, will see your strength. They will see a fighter. They will see someone who didn't quit. And most importantly, when you begin to see your own scars that way, everything changes. You stop hiding. You stop shrinking. You begin to move through the world with a quiet power that says, "This is who I am, and I'm not afraid of being seen." There is something sacred about a person who has healed and chosen to keep their heart open. That is not weakness. That is resilience. That is strength. Because it is easy to close off, to build walls, to let bitterness grow where love once lived. But when you decide to keep showing up with tenderness, even after pain, that is a different kind of bravery. It's the bravery of someone who has faced the fire and still chooses to be warm. Wearing your scars as strength means you don't let them silence you. It means you speak your truth, not to gain sympathy, but to shine a light for someone else who may be walking a similar path. It means your story becomes a bridge, not a burden. It means you realize that the most painful chapters in your life may end up being the ones that empower others to rise. There's a certain grace in embracing your journey, even the messy parts. You don't need to pretend it didn't hurt. You don't need to act like it was easy, but you can choose to see it through a new lens. You can choose to honor the person you were and the strength it took to become who you are now. That shift from shame to strength changes everything. It allows you to walk in the world without apology. It allows you to hold space for your pain and your power at the same time. Sometimes the world will try to make you feel small for your scars. It will tell you to toughen up, to forget, to move on. But healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means integrating it. It means saying, yes, I've been hurt, but that pain carved space in me for deeper compassion. It means understanding that vulnerability is not a flaw, but a feature of a deeply lived life. When you wear your scars as strength, you give others permission to do the same. You create a space where honesty is welcome and where growth doesn't require hiding the past. You were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be real, and real people carry scars. Real people have cried, broken down, lost themselves, and still made it through. Scars are reminders that you felt, that you risked, that you lived. They are the proof that you didn't give up, even when the world gave you every reason to. Glow from within, choose peace over chaos. There is a kind of light that does not come from the sun or the stars. It comes from deep within a person, from the soul that has walked through darkness and still refuses to stop shining. This kind of glow cannot be faked, and it cannot be dimmed by temporary storms. It is the radiance of someone who has chosen peace, not because life has been gentle, but because they have learned to be gentle with themselves. Choosing peace is not passive. It is not the absence of pain or conflict. It is the presence of intention. It is the decision to respond rather than react, to stay grounded when everything around you is unsteady. Chaos invites attention. It feeds off of reaction, off of the need to be heard, to be right, to be validated. But peace whispers, and only those who are truly listening can hear it. It does not demand the spotlight. It simply exists strong and steady, like a quiet heartbeat reminding you that you are still here, still whole, still enough. When someone hurts you, the easy path is to let that pain consume you, to let it twist your energy, to let it turn you into someone unrecognizable. But there is another way, a harder way perhaps, but one that leads to a different kind of power. It is the way of stillness, of deep breaths, of pausing before you speak, of choosing not to let someone else's chaos become your own. This is how you protect your glow. This is how you ensure that your light remains your own. The glow from within does not come from being untouched by life. It comes from being touched deeply and still choosing to rise with softness. It is the glow of someone who has cried and healed, who has broken and rebuilt. Someone who has learned not to chase closure, not to seek revenge, but to find their center and live from it. This glow is not loud, it does not seek approval, it simply is. It radiates from the quiet confidence of a person who knows their worth, who knows that no one else has the power to take away their peace unless they hand it over willingly. When you glow from within, you are no longer driven by the need to prove anything. You stop trying to convince others of your truth. You realize that your energy is your responsibility, and that the greatest rebellion against cruelty is calmness. The greatest answer to betrayal is not bitterness, but peace. The greatest confusion you can cause to those who tried to hurt you is to remain untouched by their chaos, to continue to smile, to continue to grow, to continue to glow. That inner glow is not born overnight. It is cultivated. It is the result of choices made again and again. Choosing forgiveness not because they deserve it, but because you do. Choosing silence not because you are weak, but because you no longer wish to engage in battles that cost you your peace. Choosing presence over obsession, gratitude over resentment, surrender over control. These are not easy choices, but they are the ones that build your light from the inside out. You don't glow by pretending nothing happened. You glow because you've lived through what happened and found meaning in it. You've carried pain without becoming it. You've allowed grief to visit but not stay. You've seen the worst of others and still believed in the best within yourself. That's what makes your glow unshakable. It's rooted in truth. It's nourished by resilience, and it shines not because you are perfect, but because you are at peace with being real. There is a beauty in someone who no longer reacts to everything that once triggered them. A strength in the one who walks away not out of defeat, but out of self-respect. A glow in the eyes of the woman who no longer needs chaos to feel seen. When you choose peace, you choose freedom. You stop tying your happiness to someone else's behavior. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop chasing understanding. You simply begin to live from the inside with quiet joy and steady light. This is how you glow. You water your soul with patience. You root your life in purpose. You tend to your energy like a sacred garden, not allowing just anyone to walk through it. And as you do, something incredible happens. Not only do you begin to heal, but you begin to radiate. Your presence becomes a place of calm. Your life becomes a reflection of everything you chose to protect when the world tried to shake you. Move on with elegance and let your silence speak. There comes a moment when explaining, defending, or justifying no longer serves your spirit. It is the moment you realize that your peace is far more valuable than winning an argument or making someone understand what they refuse to see. Moving on doesn't always need a grand declaration. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing and simply walk away, not with anger in your heart, but with clarity in your soul. Elegance in movement is not about suppressing your pain. It's about allowing yourself to feel every part of it and still choosing to move forward without dragging the weight of resentment behind you. It's about letting go with dignity, refusing to shrink yourself into bitterness, and allowing grace to be the lens through which you see your path ahead. When you leave with silence, you leave no room for more damage. You end the cycle. You create space for healing, for stillness, for rebirth. Silence is not emptiness. It is a statement, a powerful, intentional one. It says you value your energy enough not to waste it. It says you've accepted that some people will never understand your worth, and that's okay. It says you don't need to announce your evolution because your growth speaks for itself. Silence says more than any carefully chosen words ever could. It is the boundary between chaos and calm, between past and future, between who you were and who you are becoming. There's a certain liberation in no longer needing to be heard by those who never listened. The day you stop rehearsing the things you wish you'd said, the day you stop seeking closure through conversation, is the day you set yourself free. Free from the loop of disappointment, free from the cycle of over-explaining, free from the pressure of proving that you were right or that your pain was valid. You already know your truth, and that's enough. Moving on with elegance means choosing stillness over storms. It means letting your healing be louder than your hurt. It means allowing life to unfold without clinging to the past or needing to rewrite it. When you hold on to your composure, not for appearance, but for your inner balance, you signal to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you are in control of your narrative. That you've decided to turn the page not out of weakness but out of wisdom. Sometimes the most graceful thing you can do is to let people wonder, to let your absence raise the questions your presence never could, to let your silence echo louder than any confrontation. When someone expects you to break, to beg, to react, and instead you rise with composure, it confuses them. Not because you've hidden the pain, but because you've chosen not to hand it back as anger. You've transformed it into self-respect. Walking away with grace doesn't mean you weren't affected. It means you've chosen not to let the effect consume you. It means that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. It means that peace has become your priority, and anyone who threatens it, no matter how close they once were, no longer gets a front row seat in your life. Grace becomes your compass. Silence becomes your power. Distance becomes your clarity. There will be times when you'll feel the urge to speak up, to clarify, to defend yourself against assumptions. But then you'll remember that peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from understanding yourself. The world doesn't need another argument. It needs more people who are willing to be silent in strength. More people who walk away not to prove a point, but to preserve their peace. More people who choose serenity over drama. This kind of movement, quiet, intentional, elegant, is deeply transformative. You start to realize how much noise you've carried. You begin to release the need to fix what was never yours to fix. You learn that some people will never meet you where you are because they are not meant to walk the path ahead with you. And instead of trying to pull them forward, you release them gently, with gratitude and without regret. Your silence becomes a sanctuary, a place where your soul can breathe, where your energy is protected, where your future is no longer held hostage by someone else's version of the past. This silence isn't cold, it's warm with self-love. It's not empty, it's full of lessons. It's not the end, it's the beginning of something far more peaceful, far more aligned, far more you.